Hello, and welcome to the University of Alberta's Opening Up Copyright instructional module on the public domain in Canada. The public domain is significant in that its works can be used freely by anyone because those works are not protected by copyright. Unfortunately, sometimes it can be a challenge to determine which works are in the public domain. It is important to note that the public domain should not be confused with works that are publicly available. Many publicly available works are still protected by copyright. To understand how copyright-protected works and works in Canada's public domain are related, let us consider the universe of all creative works. Within this universe, there are works protected by copyright. Some creative works were once protected by copyright, but the term of copyright has expired. These works are now in the public domain. There are also works that are eligible for copyright protection, but that protection has been waived, such as through a Creative Commons Zero designation. These works are also effectively in the public domain. Finally, all works that are not eligible for copyright protection, and which are not eligible for any other form of intellectual property protection like trademarks, patents, or industrial designs, are in the public domain. The public domain is a key source of ideas and inspiration for all creators. It is everyone's intellectual commons. Works that are in the public domain are not protected by copyright and can be used without restriction. Not all works are eligible for copyright protection. Copyright protects expressions of ideas and not the underlying ideas themselves. Because copyright protects expressions and requires some creative originality, facts and ideas on their own are not protected by copyright. Facts such as Ottawa is the capital of Canada are not protected by copyright. Laws of nature and mathematical expressions are also not subject to copyright. For example, there is no copyright protection for Newton's second law, or in expressions like 1 + 7 = 9, or even in Euler's identity. While most names aren't protected by copyright, it is important to note that some names can be protected by trademark. Numerical data on its own generally isn't protected by copyright, but the compilation and/or arrangement of data can be. In addition, works that are treated as research data, for example images or transcripts, are generally protected by copyright. Similarly, the bare list of ingredients and instructions that make up a recipe are not protected by copyright, but the detailed descriptions, layout, accompanying photographs, illustrations, and arrangements of recipe in a cookbook may be protected by copyright. A second category of works which are not protected by copyright are materials for which the term of copyright has expired. In Canada, the term of copyright protection is generally the life of the author plus an additional 50 years after their death. It should be noted, though, that for works produced by an organization, government works, anonymous works, and sound recordings, the terms may differ. Canada's copyright term is shorter than that of many other countries. In Mexico, the general term of protection is life of the author plus 100 years after their death, and in the United States and the European Union member states, the term of protection is the life of the author plus 70 years. Canada's term of protection is as short as possible under international copyright agreements. Most works that are from before 1900 are already in the public domain. The novels of Dickens and the music of Mozart are examples of works that are no longer protected by copyright because the terms have expired. What is in the public domain is not the same set of works in all countries. Because of its shorter copyright term, Canada has a larger public domain than many other countries. Works will enter the public domain earlier in Canada. Shorter copyright terms are advantageous because a larger public domain allows for broader use of certain works. For example, the British author Ian Fleming died in 1964. That means his James Bond novels entered the public domain in Canada on January 1st, 2015. Authors from across Canada wrote a collection of short stories featuring the James Bond character. These were published in 2017 under the title License Expired, The Unauthorized James Bond. Because Fleming's work had entered the public domain, publishing the book in Canada required no permission from Fleming's estate. Permission would have been required had it been published in countries with a longer copyright term, which includes the United Kingdom and the United States. The third category of materials in the public domain are works where the copyright protection has been waived. In general, this category can be more difficult to assess. Some countries waive copyright protection for some types of government works. For example, most federal government materials in the United States are in the public domain. However, all government works in Canada are protected by Crown copyright until 50 years past their year of publication. Rights holders can choose to waive their copyright in a work, in effect contributing it to the public domain. The simplest way to do this is by using the Creative Commons 0 designation. If you see the CC0 mark on a work, you are free to use the work without any restrictions. As a creator, it's important to note that if you put a CC0 mark on your work, you are surrendering all rights in that work, including the right to be attributed as the creator of the work. While it can be easy to identify very old works, works with a single known creator with a known date of death, or works that have a CC0 designation as being in the public domain, for other works it can be challenging to determine whether the copyright term has expired. To make these determinations, you will need to know whether the creator of the work was a corporation, and if there were multiple or anonymous authors or composers when the last co-creator died. Whether or not a work was published and when can also be important. Tools like this flowchart can help determine whether or not a copyright term in a work has expired. You should now be able to describe the public domain scope and relationship with copyright, recognize the 3 categories of works in the public domain, identify public domain works, and contribute your own works to the public domain. To learn more about the public domain, please see the Resources and References section at the end of this module. Thank you for your attention.